Okay.
So can you send yesterday's notes and recording?
Yes, I will be sending. Okay, so let's begin with one more example of position of center of mass by superposition method for a rigid body. Okay. So in this particular example, what we are doing is we are taking like a thick rod, okay, not a thick rod, rather a thin rod, okay, which we have bent into an L shape. So this is so originally this was a thin uniform rod of mass M and length L, okay, bent into a 90-degree angle such that now this part is L by 3 in length and this part is 2L by 3 in length. So we have to locate the center of mass of this L-shaped object that we are getting by bending the rod. We have to locate where the center of mass is. So just try this out. So how we'll use the superposition principle here?
Sir, we'll find out the center of masses of the horizontal and vertical parts individually, and then
Yes,
first
very good.
set
So
the mass of both the points.
the two sections of the rod of L by 3 and 2L by 3, उनके individual center of masses निकालेंगे and then we will place equivalent particles at their center of masses and we'll make it into a system of two particles, right? And find the center of mass using that. So just work this out quickly.
Done, sir.
Answer.
Okay. Yes. Parv and Darsh, your answers are correct, both of you. So if we take this point as our origin, for example, the corner point as our origin, and this direction as our x-axis, and this direction as our y-axis, then our center of mass, let's say somewhere here. So center of mass will be at L by 18, comma 2L by 9. Let's understand how we'll get this. Okay. Yes, Akshat, correct. Same answer, you have to just simplify it a little. Okay. So this part, if we treat it like a mass M1, it is equal to how much? M by 3,
M by
1/3 the
3.
mass, right? And its center of mass is suppose at C1. So C1 will be at the midpoint of this rod. So it is L by 6, comma 0. And similarly, this part, its mass is suppose M2. So 2m by 3, and its center of mass is at the midpoint of that one. So that midpoint is 0, comma L by 3. So now the center of mass of the system will be somewhere along the line joining these two. So XCM M1 X1 plus M2 X2 divided by this. Okay, so this becomes M by 3 into L by 6 plus 2m by 3 into 0 divided by total mass. So that's how this becomes L by 18. And similarly, YCM will calculate. So doing the same steps, this will come out to be 2L by 9. Okay, so that's how we're getting the center of mass like this. So this is one important concept when it comes to finding out center of mass of symmetrical kind of bodies or combinations of symmetrical bodies. Okay, so hope this question is clear to all of you. Now, next we will move on to understand how to calculate the position of the center of mass if it's a rigid body or continuous mass distribution which is not symmetrical or not isotropic. Okay, so we cannot find it by just finding the position of the centroid. So it's like a more general method now. Okay. General method to locate the center of mass of any continuous mass distribution. Yeah. So this we will see is an application of definite integration. This is something which will be an important part of this chapter. So the idea here is that if we have, suppose, any general kind of rigid body, which is of total mass m, okay, and located at some kind of position with respect to our coordinate frame. So in general, this is a 3-dimensional coordinate frame whose origin we have defined at some point like this, and these are the mutually perpendicular XYZ axis. Now, ये coordinate system, according to this reference frame, we have to locate the position of the center of mass of the rigid body. So obviously it's somewhere within the rigid body, let's say somewhere here. So you want to find this vector, you want to find this position vector of the center of mass. Okay. So basically we apply the concept that center of mass is the weighted mean position of all individual particles that constitute the rigid body. But the difference is here, because it's a rigid body, when we consider an individual particle that is part of the rigid body, it's a very small mass. So like, let's say arbitrarily some particle here is of mass dm, and that particle's position vector is this. Okay. So we divide the rigid body into differential mass elements or differential particles. That means very small particles which are at individual locations r. So dm is what we call a differential mass element. So it is like a constituent particle of very small mass compared to the mass of the rigid body. That one. So its position vector is at r, and this is located at r. Okay. So now see, previously we had seen that if we had a collection of discrete particles, then position of center of mass was summation of m into r divided by the total mass. Okay. Total mass being summation m. So now what happens here, because we have differential masses, so what happens is that this this mi is now going to be replaced with dm, and the moment we do that, we are summing up over infinite number of particles. Okay, so what is happening is that this integration, I mean this summation 1 to n, now this is infinite. Okay. And each particle is very small, so this summation itself is converted into an integration. So this formula therefore becomes that the position of the center of mass is, instead of summation, it is integration of r dm. Mi is replaced with dm divided by total mass. So So this becomes a general idea. This is now the general method by which we'll locate the position of the center of mass. So we can also convert this into equivalent scalar formulae for the individual coordinates. So we can say that this implies that the x coordinate of the center of mass is summation x dm divided by total mass. Y coordinate of the center of mass is integration, so summation by integration of y dm by total mass, and z coordinate is similarly integration z dm divided by total mass. So just make a note of this first, then we'll discuss further how to do this kind of integration in different situations, depending on the geometrical shape of the body and all that.
Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. So next thing we'll see.
Just if you can.
Yeah. Sorry.
2 minutes. Sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now further, depending on how the mass is distributed for the rigid body over space, okay, we have certain specific methods of doing these, executing these integrations. So what we do is we divide our continuous mass systems into categories. Okay. So continuous mass distributions, these are further divided into subcategories of, like the first category we'll see is what we call a linear distribution of mass. That means mass is distributed over length. So example, a thin rod, okay, or a thin circular arc. Okay. So these are examples where mass is distributed over a length. This has a certain arc length S. mass is m like that. So these are what we call linear distributions. The second category we'll see is surface distributions, where mass is distributed over a surface. So an example is any thin plate. Let's say, okay. So one example of that could be a disk, like we saw yesterday. We were discussing about a disk with a hole cut out. So that's also an example of a surface distribution. Or it could be, say, a rectangular plate, a triangular plate, or whatever. We could also have a situation. So these are examples of what we call laminar surfaces. That means it's a two-dimensional surface. Okay. It's on a two-dimensional plane. We could also have an example of a non-laminar surface, where the mass is distributed on a surface which is not lying in a two-dimensional plane, like a hemispherical bowl. If we take an example of a hemispherical bowl, the mass is distributed over a curved surface like this. So it's an hemispherical shell kind of thing. So it's a non-laminar surface. We could have a open cone, anything like that. So these are examples of surfaces which are non-laminar. Okay, now the third category of mass distribution will be volume distributions. And any solid three-dimensional object is an example of a volume distribution, because mass is distributed over a volume rather than a surface or a length. Okay, so any three-dimensional solid body is an example of this. So we could have, for example, a solid cylinder. We could have solid cube. All these are examples of that. So for each category of mass distribution, when we find out the position of the center of mass by using this formula, that this is integration RdM divided by the total mass. When we use this formula, in this the mass element dm is equivalently taken as a different thing. So for linear distributions, the mass element is taken as lambda dl, where dl is a differential length element. So we slice the whole length of the linear distribution into small chunks, and they are differential lengths dl. Okay, and lambda is mass per unit length. When it comes to surface distributions, dm becomes what we call a surface element instead of a linear element. So we write it as sigma dA, where dA is a differential surface area element. And of course, sigma is mass per unit area. And when it comes to volume distributions, dm is a volume element. So it is written as rho dv, where dv is a differential volume, a very small part of the volume of the entire three-dimensional object. And rho is volume density, mass per unit volume. So further, when we are executing this integration RdM, we have to select our mass element dm as either a small length element dl, or a small part of the surface area dA, or a small part of the total volume, the solid three-dimensional volume dv, depending on what type of body we are dealing with or what kind of continuous mass distribution, whether it is a linear distribution, a surface distribution, or a volume distribution. So just make sure you understand this classification. Then we will start looking at examples of application of this integration method.
That's it.
So done.
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Okay, so this concept is clear, I hope. Now let's look at examples of application of this. Okay, so we'll start with linear distributions. So yesterday we understood that if we have, for example, a uniform linear distribution along a straight line, like a thin uniform rod, then we don't need to use integration because the center of mass will be located at the midpoint, okay, or the centroid. But what if the distribution is non-uniform? Okay, so let's look at an example like that. So we have a non-uniform, or what we can also call as an anisotropic, opposite of the term isotropic. Okay, so anisotropic thin rod with a given variable mass distribution, so non-uniform. Okay, so this is our thin rod, let's say. Okay, so suppose the length of the rod is L. Okay, but the mass distribution is such that if we take a point inside the rod, which is at a distance x from this end, at any point like this, the mass per unit length, okay, that is given to us to be a variable quantity. So given that mass per unit length, lambda, is a variable like this, okay, where lambda naught is, let's say, a constant equal to, let's say, 0.5 kg per meter, and L is the length of the rod. Let's say L is also given to us as, say, 10 meters. Now we have to find the position of center of mass, and we have to also find the total length of the total mass of the rod. So this is where our integration method comes in, because one thing we can straight away understand, that the center of mass will be at a position at more than x equal to L by 2, because the mass distribution is getting heavier as the x coordinate is increasing. Now you can see the mass per unit length is 1 kg per meter by the time you get to the other end of the rod, whereas it is only 0.5 kg per meter at the origin. Okay, so the rod is heavier on the right compared to its left hand side. Okay, so the center of mass will definitely not be at L by 2, it will be on the right hand side of L by 2. So what we expect is that the x position of the center of mass should be greater than L by 2, but where exactly it is, to find that out we have to apply integration. So this is a typical example of the application of integration with a length element dl. So we'll slice this rod, mentally we'll slice it into small length elements, okay, which are individual particles of mass dm, and we'll carry out this, integration for finding the center of mass position by taking dm as lambda dl, or in this case lambda dx. Okay, so let's get to that method. So what we'll do is taking the left side of the rod as our origin. At a distance x like this. We can cut the rod into a small length element dx because it's along the x-axis. So this length element dx is now acting like a particle. Okay, so dx is a differential length element. Okay, and further this becomes this much. So okay, and its mass is therefore dm. So now to locate the position of the center of mass, we will just execute that integration. So the position of the center of mass will become, but here another problem that we know is that we have is that the total mass also we'll have to calculate by integration. So separately we calculate the numerator and denominator, and from that we'll find the x coordinate of the center of mass. Okay. So integration x dm here will become integration of x into lambda dx, which is x into lambda's variable. So we replace it with the function given to us. Okay. And it is all the way from x equal to 0 to x equal to L, because this end here is x equal to 0 and this end here is x equal to L. So I'm setting up the integration. Okay, so it become x plus x square by L. I want all of you to calculate this integration and tell me how much this will come out to be. Okay. And similarly, the total mass of the rod, the denominator part, we'll get by integrating dm alone. So that is integration of lambda dx. That is integration of lambda naught into 1 plus x by L, integrated from x equal to 0 to x equal to L. So separately find out this much and then substitute these in the formula for the center of mass and find out the exact location of the center of mass, and also find out the mass of the rod in terms of lambda naught, which later we can convert it to kgs. So work out these integrals and tell me what values you're getting, and then we'll calculate the center of mass's position and the total mass from that.
So done.
Yes, sir. Worked it out. Sir,
Yeah, students, I just got disconnected. Anyway, so I'm sharing that screen again. Some of you might have sent the answers, but because I got disconnected, I lost the chat stream. So can you send the answers again to me if you worked out this question? Yes, okay,
Sir,
perfect.
can I tell it to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so how much you're getting?
Sir, x is L square 3 lambda naught plus 2 by 6.
Nee,
And
see, x will come as a factor of L alone.
Yes, sir.
A lambda naught and all will cancel. So see, when you do this integration here, na, ये क्या आ जाएगा? It will come lambda naught integration of x is x square by 2. X square is x cube by 3. And on this, you are putting the limit 0 to L. So ultimately, this integration will give us how much? It will give us lambda naught into some factor of L square.
5L square by 6.
Yes, in fact, it will give us 5 by 6 lambda naught L square when you substitute the limits and all. Okay. Similarly, this integration will give us how much? It will give us lambda naught into integration of dx is x, okay, and x is x square by 2.
3 by 2 lambda L.
Yes, so this will give us 3 by 2 lambda L, lambda naught L. Okay. So first of all, you're getting the total mass from this as 3 by 2 lambda naught L. So the numerical value of that total mass is becoming 3 by 2 into lambda naught was 0.5 and the length I think was 10 meters, right? Yeah. So it's becoming how much? 15 by 2, isn't it? So 7.5 kilograms is the total mass. Okay. And the position of the center of mass, which is integration x dm divided by total mass, is now becoming 5 by 6 lambda naught L square. So it will always come as a factor of lambda of L. Understood na?
Yes.
So यहाँ पे कितना आ रहा है? It is coming as
Sir, 5L by 9.
5L by 9. So you can see it's slightly greater than 1 by 2, you know?
Yes, sir.
So in terms of L, it is coming this. So numerically, it will come as 50 by 9. Okay. Or 5.56 meters, something like that. So very good, Parv, your answer was correct. Akshat, it's correct for total mass. Just check the calculation for XCM once. Okay. Okay, so hope the calculation is clear to everyone.
yes,
The lower limit of both the integrations is just 0, you know, because x is equal to 0 will give us 0. So just replace x with L in that expression and you will get the values. Okay. 5 by 6 lambda naught L square and 3 by 2 lambda naught L. Okay, now moving on, let's see another type of this linear mass distribution and calculation of integration by calculation of center of mass position by integration. So this time we will see that we have got a system like this, that we take a ring, okay, and we slice it into a semi-ring. Okay. So we've taken a thin but uniform rod or wire or something like that. We bent it into a semicircular arc. So now we have to locate the position of the center of mass. Okay, so for our system, let's say we are taking this as our x-axis. and we'll take the center of curvature of the circular arc, the semicircular arc, as our origin. So our y-axis is this other symmetry axis. So in terms of this origin, we have to locate the position of the center of mass. Now you can understand that y-axis is an axis of symmetry over here, right?
Yes, sir.
So the center of mass will have to lie somewhere on the y-axis. Its x-coordinate will be 0. So we just have to apply the formula for y-coordinate of center of mass, which is integration y dm divided by total mass. But what will be dm again? It will be a length element. And this time that length element is like a small section of this semi-arc. Okay. So this becomes like a standard example for us now. Center of mass of a thin uniform semicircular arc. Okay. So we understand that the center of mass will be somewhere over here. From the symmetry of it. So this y coordinate of the center of mass we'll calculate by this formula now. So if the radius of the semi-arc is r, and of course the total mass is some m. Now this time what we'll do is we'll slice this into small sections like this. So this is a differential. It's a differential arc. So we'll take it as ds. So this differential arc suppose it is located at some angular position theta. Okay, by now we are used to the concept of angular position. So since the mass is distributed over a circular arc, semicircular all the same, but over a circular path like that, we will locate position by angle like we did in circular motion. So this small arc here, this one, it will be subtending a small angle d theta. Okay, and therefore we can say that ds equals to r d theta is a length element, is a differential length element, which is a small section of the arc. Okay, of length ds, that ds becomes r d theta. Now that section's y coordinate is this. Okay, so you can see this is the y coordinate of that. Okay, so it is at y equal to r sine theta. You can see from the trigonometry of this triangle, this one, this is r, this is theta. See that this is y. So this is what we will substitute here, and its mass is going to be lambda ds now. So lambda will be what? M upon pi r, because the total mass is distributed over a total arc length of pi r. into this one's arc length is r d theta. So we can replace dm with m upon pi into d theta, cancelling that r. So these are the substitutions that we'll do. This one and this one we'll substitute here and here. Okay, and we'll carry out this integration. So this integration will become integration of y, which is r sine theta, into dm, which is m upon pi d theta. Right from this particle here to the last particle. So the limits will be what? Theta equal to 0 for this point. And for this point,
Pi.
theta equal to pi or 180 degrees, whatever. So this will give us the numerator, and of course divide that by total mass. So the y coordinate of the center of mass we'll calculate like this. So bring all the constants outside, mr by pi, and we are left with a very simple integration of sine theta d theta from theta equal to 0 to theta equal to pi. And this whole thing is divided by m, remember, so m cancels out. So this becomes r upon pi. Now what is integration of sine theta?
Minus cos theta.
Minus cos theta.
Yes, very good. So minus cos theta. On that we'll put the limit 0 to pi. So cos pi is -1, cos 0 is 1. But remember, it's minus cos theta. So when you put the limit, see what you will get. That will give us the final answer. Okay, so I'm just leaving the last step for you to work out and tell me how much is the position of the center of mass.
So 2r by pi.
Yes, very good, sir. That minus cos theta from 0 to pi, on putting the limits, it will give us 2. So the y coordinate of the center of mass will become 2r by pi. And you can see that 2 by pi is less than 1. So obviously, it's somewhere within the semi-arc, okay, at a distance of 2r by pi from the center, from the geometrical center or the center of curvature O.
So is there any other method instead of using the theta and all?
Instead of using theta,
Yes, sir.
see, if we take another method, then what we have to do is we have to take differential dx and dy, and then it becomes very complicated because that small arc length ds that you're taking now, it will have a component dx as well as a component dy. Understanding now?
Yes, sir.
It will become like square root of dx square plus dy square. Then we'll have to use the constraint relation between x and y, that x square plus y square is equal to r square. So unnecessarily the whole thing will become very complicated. So the thing is, whenever we are integrating over a circular arc, whether we are integrating for center of mass in this chapter or any other purpose, like for gravitational field and gravitation chapter, or charge for electrostatics, etc., the general rule or the general thumb rule that we use is that for circular arc, position is always taken in terms of angle, and therefore a small element is always taken as r d theta instead of dx and dy. Understood? Huh?
Okay, sir.
So then, the geometry is such that the natural convenient way of doing it is using theta.
Yes, sir.
Anything else will unnecessarily complicate the thing for us.
Done, sir.
Okay. I'll just write the final step here for everyone. So when I put the limit, I'll get minus cos pi, right? Minus of minus cos 0. So that's how I'll get minus of -1, because cos pi is -1. So the semi arc has a center of mass such that this distance OC is equal to 2r by pi. Okay, now let's move on to our first example of surface integration. So we'll take the case of the semi-disk. Thin uniform semi-disk. Okay. So for this example, we'll actually make use of the previous derivation that we've done just now, which was the center of mass of the semi-arc. So what we'll do is, first of all, if this is our semi-disk, mass m and radius r. So let's again take the y-axis as our axis of symmetry and O as the geometrical centroid of that full disk which we have cut into a semi-disk. Okay. Now we understand once again that the center of mass will lie somewhere on the y-axis. Okay. So the center of mass will be at 0, ycm, because again y-axis is a symmetry axis. Okay. So again we will calculate this by this method. Okay. But first of all, here we'll understand that Tm will be an area element because this is a surface distribution. Okay. So now sigma is obviously total mass divided by total area. So that is the value of sigma, that is mass per unit area. So this, okay. But what about dA? So dA is a surface area element. So it's what we call a surface element. So it depends on how we slice this surface. Okay. Now what we will do here is that we will slice this surface into semicircular arcs. Okay. So what we will do is So imagine we've sliced a semicircular thin element like this of radius small r and of thickness dr. So the whole semi-disk is sliced into millions of or infinite number of such semi-arcs, which are very thin each, with r ranging from 0 to capital R. Okay. This radius is capital R. So the value of small r will go from 0 to capital R to cover the entire semi-disk. Now this element so this is a thin semicircular arc. It has radius small r and thickness dr. So can you tell me how much its area will be? Like that small red shaded area, how much that should be?
Radius will be r plus dr, and
That's
it
the
should
outer
be
radius, no? And the inner radius is r. So how much is the area enclosed between that outer radius and inner radius? Okay, now I'll give you a hint. Just think of it like a small ribbon which you have curved into the shape of a semi-arc. Okay, so that ribbon's area is how much? Length into thickness?
Yes, sir. So semi circumference into dr.
Yes, so it will become pi r into dr. The length into the thickness, like this. That will be dA. Okay, so its mass will be how much? Sigma dA. So sigma from here was 2m upon pi r square, and its area is pi r dr. So the mass of that small element is how much? It is 2m upon capital R square into small r dr. Okay. Now, if I treat this like a differential mass particle, where is its center of mass located? Its center of mass is at y equal to 2r by pi. This is the formula we had just seen.
Yes, sir.
So I can replace that entire ribbon of mass dm with an equivalent particle located on the y-axis where at this point. Okay. So in the integration, this is what I'll substitute. Got it now?
Yes, sir.
In this above integration, dm is the mass of that ribbon. Okay, and that y coordinate is what? The position where that dm's center of mass is located. So that dm center of mass is located at a y coordinate of how much? 2r by pi. And so the smallest ribbon you are starting with, its radius is almost tending to 0. So its center of mass is at 0 only. Whereas the largest one is right at the circumference where small r is equal to capital R. And you are including or you're summing up all those ribbons from here to here. You're summing them up by doing the integration with the limits that small r is going from 0 to capital R. Okay,
so
so
first we'll collapse this area into a line, and then again we'll integrate that line into a point. We'll collapse the whole line into a point.
What we've done is, first you have mentally sliced the semi-disk into these semi-rings, infinite number of them, each of very small thickness dr, right? Then any one particular one,
Yes, sir.
its mass is dm, so you've calculated it. So now you can treat it like you compress that mass dm to a particular point on the y-axis. So where should that point be? It should be that ribbon center of mass, which is at 2r by pi. Okay, now. So now your system's center of mass is located where? It is located at the summation by integration of all the particles on the y-axis, which are at y coordinates individually given by 2r by pi. And the mass of that particular particle, which is at 2r by pi, is this dm, which is like this. And now I'm summing up for all the particles or all the rings, semi-rings, from the smallest one r tending to 0 to the largest one on the circumference r equal to capital R. Of course, I'm dividing this whole thing by m. So take all the constants outside, 4m by pi r square. Okay, and we are left with the integration of how much? R squared dr from 0 to capital R. and we of course have it divided by m outside. So now solving this integration will give us the position of the center of mass. It's very easy. This will give you us r cube by 3, and that m cancels out and all that. So the final answer that we get will be that y coordinate of the center of mass will become 4r by 3 pi.
So,
Yes.
so in this sum, like you sliced the disk as infinite number of semi-rings.
Yes.
So likewise, can we slice it as like pizza shaped of d theta and dm?
Yes, you can do that also. One is that, but then you have to find the position of center of mass of a triangular arc now, because no, so that's one option. Another option you can do is you can also cut it into horizontal strips, no?
Yes, sir.
So there are two other methods. But again, as it turns out that because we have just calculated the position of center of mass of a semi-ring now, this is a very convenient way of solving it. So this is not the only way of executing the integral, but this is perhaps the most convenient way of solving the integration.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So you can try the other two methods, especially the slicing it into horizontal rods. That's also. So you can take each horizontal rod's length as x and thickness as dy, and you will see that there is a relation between x and y. So you'll have to use that as a constraint relation.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay, so both these examples that we have done, they are standard formulae, which you should know the derivation that we have done over here, as well as you should remember the formula, because it might be used directly in a question for solving something else. So semi-ring and semi-disk, you should remember the formula of the center of mass position. Semi-ring is 2r by pi, semi-disk is 4r by 3 pi. There will be a few formulae in this chapter that you'll have to memorize for position of center of mass.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so this is done, people?
Sir, 2 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. The next example we are going to do will be a 3-dimensional example. After you finish writing this down, it will be our first volume distribution. Okay. And we will take the case of a solid uniform cone. Center of mass of a uniform, or you can say isotropic, it is having uniform density, solid cone of vertical height h and base radius r. You can get started on this if you like. If you finish this, you can get started. So just like we are discussing, so here you will slice the cone into discs. Now, because the vertical axis of the cone is a symmetry axis, so the center of mass will lie somewhere on that axis. So you can slice the cone into thin discs. Like there are discs which are smaller and smaller in size, stacked on top of each other to form the cone. Okay.
Sir? Sir?
Okay, so let's look at this next example.
Sir,
Yes.
can you please explain once more why? How did we get y is equals to 2r by pi?
How did we get which one?
Y is equals to 2r by pi.
Y is equal to 2r by pi. Now, see, in the previous example, we have seen that a semi-thin semi-arc where its center of mass is located. 2r by pi from the center of curvature, right?
Yes.
So we are using this result only, no? Now. You understood, no?
Yes. Yeah, yes, sir. Got it.
So semi-disc को जो मैंने slice कर दिया into those semi-arcs. So any one particular semi-arc which is of radius small r, where its center of mass is located. Its center of mass is located at 2r by pi from the origin on the y-axis, right?
Got it.
Okay. So we are making use of the result actually that we have got by integration earlier. No? It's come directly from that. Okay, now let's come to the cone example.
So here there will be discs of height dh, right?
Yeah, dh or dy or whatever you take that axis as. Okay, so I have drawn the cone like this. You can draw it the other way also with the
So
apex of the cone below or whatever. Yes.
so here we'll cut it into horizontal discs, now.
Yes. So let's say the base is suppose it's the xz plane and the vertical axis of the disc is the y-axis. So then we will slice it using a plane parallel to the xy plane, xz plane, using a plane which is parallel to the plane of the base, which in this case I'll take as the xz plane. Only thing for convenience, I'll take the apex as my origin and I'll take the y-axis downwards. Okay. You can also do it the other way around. You can take the apex, you can take the origin as the center of the base also, but you will see why this is more convenient. Just for writing out the integration, this will be more convenient. So now, at a distance y from the apex, I will slice a thin disc like this. So this disc now is suppose of radius small r, okay, and at a distance y from here, okay, whereas the height of the cone is h and the base radius is capital R. Actually, so that this y is easy to relate first, okay, by using similar triangles, so that y is easy to relate. So you'll see that, if you just look at this one side like this, it's quite easy because this triangle and this triangle are easy to relate. So that's why I have taken like this, okay. But there's no hard and fast rule. We can take the other way also. So y by h should be equal to small r by capital R. Okay, so small r is r by h times y. Okay, so we'll use this later. Okay. So now this is our differential disk. Okay. Now its thickness will be dy. Okay, so it has a radius of small r and a thickness of dy. So what about its volume? So first of all, the solid cone is this thing. It's a volume distribution. Okay. So in this, when we use that integration, this has to be density into dV. Okay, so density will become what? Mass upon volume. Okay. Now this has a volume dV. And again, this is a symmetry axis. So the center of mass, okay, will lie somewhere on the y-axis. So the center of mass will be at where YCM we will calculate by this method. Integration YDM divided by total mass. So in this dm will be this rho dV. Okay. Where this is the value of rho. And now dV we are calculating. So what will dV be? It will be pi r square area into thickness.
Yes.
Yes.
So let me just keep this constraint relation aside for the moment, because we'll use it in the next step. So now when we are executing this integration, you can see that now that this zone center of mass is where at its center only. So we'll let y be the way it is. But dm will become rho dV. So rho is 3m upon pi r square h. And dV we have just seen is how much it is, pi small r square dy. Okay. And this will be integrated for all the disks, starting from the one at the top at the apex, which is y equal to 0, to the bottommost one, which is at y equal to h. So now when we are integrating, we see that r and y are related with this. So here r has to be replaced in terms of y length. So that is where this constraint relation comes in. So make this substitution and try to work out this integral. I'll put it up in a minute. So it's not going to be a difficult integration, just that we have to substitute a few things, sort out the constants and all that.
So it is coming 3h by 4.
Yes, very good, Parv. The answer is correct. So I'm just carrying out the integration. Okay. So first of all, let me take all these constants outside. So 3m comes outside. Okay, the pi cancels. R square h in the denominator comes outside. Okay. So we are left with integration of r squared dy. Okay. और यहाँ पे denominator में भी m था. From y equal to 0 to y equal to h. Now I'll substitute this over here. So this will become 3 upon r square h. M is cancelled out. And now r by h ka whole square. So I have now 3 upon r h cube.
So there was a y inside initially.
There was a y, no? Sorry. So this y is also there. Yeah. So this will become y into this thing, you know. So the integration is going to become y cube का integration. Correct. Okay.
सर आर भी कैंसिल हो रहा था.
भी cancel हो रहा है सारा. हाँ.
हाँ sir.
R square है ना तो cancel.
R square था yes sir. So R square by h square. So
हाँ. So this we are just left with 3 by r h cube here.
h cube. Yes.
Correct. And then this integration will give us h square h to the power 4 by 4. So this becomes 3 by h cube into h to the power 4 by 4. So 3h by 4. Okay. And perhaps the easier way to remember this is that from the base, the distance becomes h by 4. From the apex, the distance of the center of mass is 3/4 the height. So from the base, it is quarter of the height for a solid cone. Okay. We'll also see later that if you have a hollow conical shell, then it is some other answer that we get for the center of mass. But this is for a solid cone. The center of mass is here. Then this is 3/4 of the height. Or in other words, from the base, it is at h by 4. Okay, so again, this is a result that you should remember. Both the case of the solid cone, which we've done here today, and the case of the hollow conical shell, which we'll do later, open hollow conical shell. So that will become a surface distribution, but a non-laminar surface, a 3-dimensional surface. And this is a solid volume distribution of mass, as you can see. Okay, so these techniques in integration become very important, okay, because some of these techniques that we'll learn here will be applicable not only for center of mass calculation, but in future chapters also, like rotational mechanics, gravitation, electrostatics next year. So it's important to understand these principles of integration and these techniques, okay? How to slice elements, whether it's a length element, surface element, or volume element, what to take as the variable of integration. Okay, when we take theta as the variable, when we take y as the variable, things like this, we will keep picking up as we go along in this chapter.
So
Yeah, take me with that.
So for these uniform objects, we can find out the dm and all. But for non-uniform objects, how will we do that?
So see, if it is an anisotropic body, that means density will be some kind of variable. Okay, so
Yes.
that should be known to us, that how density is varying. If it is randomly varying, then we cannot find center of mass. Got it, no?
Okay, sir.
But
So it will
suppose
be given as a
density is,
function of something, right?
yes. So suppose density is varying with height, for example, from the center. So then that means rho will be a function of y. So we'll have to substitute that y, and the integration will become different because there will be a separate function within that now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's how we'll proceed.
So after the lecture, please send yesterday's notes.
Sure, I will send yesterday's notes and recording along with today's also, okay, very soon.
So,
Yes.
so I have sent you a doubt of heat and thermodynamics.
Yes, I will send you the this thing for that also. Okay, in some time today.
And sir, the circular motion doubts of HCV.
Oh yes, that is pending. We are supposed to do today. Okay, we will pick those up in the very soon in the next lecture. Okay. You are also having some physical doubt sessions na, in the centers.
Yeah, sir, but they are mostly like lectures and all.
I say you're not having doubt sessions. No time is there for doubts separately.
No, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, just like, once you can talk to your center in charges also, there should be some time when teachers are available for doubts also. Okay, otherwise, I will send you the solutions of the doubts, and definitely in the next week, we will keep time for, just remind me in the lecture, next week's first lecture. Just remind me at the beginning of the
sir.
lecture that we have to keep some time for circular motion doubts, okay?
Yes, sir.
So we will start with that next time, okay? Make sure to remind me. But
Okay, sir.
okay, okay. But what happens is once we start with the examples, the time goes in discussing this also. So we have to actually start with circular motion doubts next time.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Sir,
okay.
so in
Yes, sir.
general,
Bye, sir.
the number of dimensions that get added, that many number of integrals you have to add, right?
Number of integrals, matlab
Matlab
basically,
nested integrals.
nested integrals we won't be doing here, beta, because that is something very complex. That is called double integral and triple integral.
Huh.
Here it is just that, how we take the element, whether we take it as DL or we take it as DA or we take it as DV, depending on whether it's a length, linear distribution, surface distribution, or volume distribution.
So for the semicircular area, that was indirectly it was a double integral only, right? Because like first we found the from one integral we found the center of mass for a linear
But see,
strip.
that was because it was convenient for us. Now we already knew the formula for the semi-ring. If we had
Huh.
not, then we would have sliced it into rods, thin rods.
Huh.
So we don't necessarily have to do nested integrals. Okay, nested integrals or double integrals are not part of our syllabus actually.
Okay.
So we will avoid that. We will always take this kind of method. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Bye.
people. All the best. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.